morning and good evening, colleagues and partners. Welcome to the 7th session of the 2022 Cities on the Frontline Speaker Series, jointly organized by the Resilient Cities Network and the World Bank. This session looks into the relevant topic of the role of play in city planning. My name is Uri Reich, and I'm a Senior Urban Specialist at the World Bank, based in Singapore. Before I hand off the microphone to my co-host Lina to introduce the topic of the session, I just want to quickly remind everyone of the intention and the ground rules of the conversation today. The purpose of this global webinar is to provide city practitioners and their industries and residents that they support an understanding and the means for responding to intensify and cascading challenges in many fronts, including those arising from global warming, social unrest, growing inequalities, natural and man-made disasters, and the COVID-19 pandemic, while also providing solutions for planning towards a more resilient recovery. We please ask that you do not attribute any comments made today to the speakers unless the materials are made available after the call or you have the person's express permission to do so. We are thrilled at the response to the speaker series. Today it's a very well-attended session with more than 300 people registered for this call globally. To facilitate this discussion and as a matter of practicality, we ask that you please use the Q&A function to pose your questions. Over to you, Lina.
Thank you, Yuri. Hi, everyone. My name is Lina Liakou. I'm the Global Director for City Engagement for the Resilient Cities Network. This session is part of a series of webinars on how we strengthen the resilience of our cities through play, and is part of our collaboration with the Real Play Coalition. Today we will focus on the role of city planning and how we can integrate play within our design frameworks, broader policies. But before I introduce our speakers today and dive into the specifics, I would like to give a brief overview on some key insights that we identified within this work with the Real Play Coalition that will also help us better frame the discussion and what we're going to hear today. First of all, this work has been driven by our 7 ambassador cities, Houston, Milan, Barcelona, Belfast, Ramallah, Colima, and Tbilisi. These 7 cities have shown leadership in this space and are prioritizing ways to include play and children within their strategies, policies, and investments. Together with them, we are trying to identify play-focused city investments and better understand the multi-sectoral connections of play within city systems, facilitate knowledge sharing and peer-to-peer learning, and further promote the value of play to other cities across the world. One of the activities we did the past year was a global survey to better understand what are the priorities, challenges, ideas around how we can strengthen the role of play in cities. And I would like to give you quickly some key insights from this. So we had a sample of 30 cities from across geographies and a variety of respondents. We had city representatives, caregivers, urban practitioners, play workers. 3 priority themes were identified, both as important for resilience building and as areas that require more collective action. So first of all, the importance of co-creation. We cannot design for play without engaging with the children and their caregivers. And although children's capacity to participate in decision-making processes has already been recognized, so 70% of the city representatives are either working or want to include children within their engagement processes, nevertheless, this is not a common practice yet. And in most cases, the available tools and methods that cities use for co-creation are not suitable for children. Only a handful of cities also that responded have dedicated teams solely for play and children. This is even more important when we want to engage with the most vulnerable communities within the cities. And we will hear more on that later today from our speakers. The second important priority, of course, is urban planning. And evidence shows that the urban environment plays a critical role in children's development. When we think about play, we also need to think about how it integrates with the various city systems. And for example, within our survey, parents and caregivers indicated the length of commute as a key barrier to visit spaces for play. Therefore, we need to consider, as we're thinking about play in cities, issues around mobility, the availability of green spaces, the role of public spaces within our overall strategy. The third pillar, of course, is financing and funding. And cities face barriers in financing dedicated spaces for play. And these barriers manifest on different levels within the city. The majority of the city authorities identified access to long-term funding for maintenance and operations as the biggest barrier. On the other side, about 60% of the city authorities indicated that play initiatives have been initiated or led through public-private partnerships within their cities. Among the widely acknowledged benefits of play, based on the survey, are those to health, stronger sense of community, enhanced safety, and more learning opportunities. By reflecting on those long-term benefits that play delivers, a better business and value case needs to be made to further unlock investments. And also based on our survey, there is a need for frameworks and ways to actually measure the multiple benefits of play within our cities. Now, all the above, along with very specific case studies from cities across the globe, have been compiled in a report that will be available soon. It will be launched during the World Urban Forum, so please look out for more information around that. Now, without further delay, let's move to our panelists. We have here today with us three amazing women. We have Ariadna Miquel from the Barcelona City Council, Sara Candiracci from Arup, and Joana Dabaj from CatalyticAction. We will start with our first speaker, Ariadna. Ariadna is, since 2007, the Director of Urban Strategy at the Chief Architect's Office of the City Council of Barcelona. She has led several strategic urban projects, as the transformation of Gloria Square or La Modelo Prison. She's also responsible for strategic projects like Play Plan, Let's Protect the Schools, and the implementation of the Super Blocks program in the city. So without further delay, I would like to ask Ariadna to take the floor.
Hello, good afternoon or good morning, I don't know. You can see the presentation and it's running.
Yes, we can see it, Ariadna. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for inviting Barcelona to this interesting webinar about playing. I will talk a little bit of Barcelona. As you know, is a city that is near the sea, but it's almost finished and is a very high density city. This is, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but this is the city, the municipality, but the real city is this metropolitan city that is composed by 36 municipalities, and it's also very, very dense. So with this model that has been in this urban model, we have some indicators, quality and environmental quality indicators that show us that we have a lot of some problems, like high level pollution, acoustic pollution, or we have 4 degrees more in the urban heat effect. And also we have a lack of green areas in Barcelona because we are in such a dense city. So in 2020, Barcelona has declared the climate emergency declaration, because also in all the world now we have this emergency, and we have to achieve, or we have to face this challenge with these 3 scales at the same time, with the global scale, with all the cities, and thinking which model has to have to be the new cities, no? Also with this urban and metropolitan scale, no? With all these problems that we have with these bigger areas, no? That are the real city that often are out of our municipalities. But also at the same time, we have to take care about human scale and how we felt in the city. That's why we are saying that we are reprogramming our new urban model to have more green, to decrease the atmospheric and acoustic pollution, and to change to another kind of mobility. So we have to reprogram Barcelona. And we have to, and in all the projects, we have to work in 3 axes that are nature, proximity, and collaboration. And today I will talk about Superblock Barcelona, also Plan for Play and Let's Protect the Schools, that are the same strategy, but in 3 different ways. In Superblock Barcelona, we are trying to improve the urban tissue, the infrastructure. With the Plan for Play, we are trying to change the paradigm of what the play is for the city, no? We want all the city, we want to change that from a city that has areas to play to a city that you can play in all the city. And also we want to protect our schools because we want to protect the most vulnerable people, no, that are our child. With Superblocks, as you know, it's like a strategy that the objective is to remove the passing through traffic for some streets, to gain and to have more green streets, to have more space to stay, because in Barcelona we have this lack of green areas. We have tested this strategy in some areas in the city, like this, no, like Sant Antoni. We have this kind of streets with plenty of cars, and also these crossings in Eixample. And we have transformed it, and we have removed these cars to want this public space for the people. And now we consider that it's the moment to scale up this strategy and to have this city vision that these green streets, these green access are in the whole city, are planned for the whole city. But now we are acting. We are centering in this Champla Central, where is the center of the city and of the metropolitan city also, where we have a lot of cars, and we have this the biggest lack of green areas, no, is in the Champla, because it's the densiest part of the city. So we planned these green streets for all this Champla. And we have done an international competition to build how these new streets could be, no? And we have because we want to implement this new model of a street where playing has a very important role in this street. Also, at the same time, Barcelona was presented this Barcelona play thing, right? This plan for playing in Barcelona that wants to switch from a city with places to play to a city to play. We want to play in all the cities. Is the plan with an horizon to 2030, and we have 10 key milestones and 63 individual actions. It's not only an infrastructure plan, no, with changing the city, but also have some aspects with the way we manage this public space to make it more playable. And I will present here the main three projects that I think that are the most visible. That one of them is this new singular playing that it's in different places of the city. We are implementing this kind of infrastructure to play that it's very different and very unique and offers to the children experiences that you cannot find in another place in the city, and they are so visible and they are so singular in each place. Another strategy that we are implementing now, and we present yesterday, so it's very yesterday, the 3rd of May. It's very new. It's this competition also to generate these accessibility tools for the accessibility criteria for the playing areas that we have been working a lot with the disabled people to design these new areas and these new criteria. And now we are doing this competition that to make to have one area totally accessibility in each part of the city, each district of the city. And then the last project that I want to present is this one of Let's Protect the Schools. That is that one that tries to protect our child, these most vulnerable people that we have in the city, that are our child. We have more or less 600 schools in the whole city and in different areas. And the objective is to improve these school environments. Here, for example, it's the school, Lavinia School, that we have this, these surroundings, plenty of cars. We remove these cars and we convert this street to a school street where the play could occur all the day with playgrounds and also furniture to stay and to get socialized. And we have done it in 200 schools. So we have in 2022 we will finish, or 23, we will finish these 200 schools that we have improved these surroundings, and the idea is to improve all the surroundings of all the schools. We have run a lot to make this transformation. I like to finish now with this image that it's the one mother sitting in the street now with his son, his daughter, that shows that the public space could be used in another way, and it can be our own, and it can be used for whatever we want to use for. So for me, this kind of sitting shows that you feel safe, and the public space is yours. I want just finish, and I want to invite you to Barcelona 226 because it has been nominated the UNESCO Capital of Architecture, and we will have this Architectural World Congress, and we hope to see you there or even before. And thanks for all.
Thank you very much, Ariadna, for this interesting presentation on Barcelona. Let's now move to our second presenter. It is my great pleasure to introduce a very playful and fun colleague, Dr. Sara Candiracci. Associate Director of Arup. Sara is an urban planner with specialized in inclusive, sustainable, and resilient urban development with 20 years of experience in designing, managing, and leading projects in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Europe. As an associate director at Arup, she leads the work on inclusive and resilient cities, including the portfolio on child-centered and play-focused urban design and planning. Also, she represents Arup at the technical advisory team of the Real Play Coalition, and she holds a PhD in urban planning with a thesis on the role of cultural heritage in placemaking and sustainable development. Over to you, Sara.
Thank you, Uri. Nice to see you again. So thanks, everyone. So today I have the, can you see my screen properly? Just to confirm.
Yes.
Yeah, can you see full screen? Okay, great. So yeah, today I'd like to share with you one of the piece of work that we've been developing over the past years in collaboration with the LEGO Foundation, which is the Playful Cities Toolkit, which we developed to provide basically a range of resources to support government authorities, urban practitioners, and professionals also working in children development, also professional and also local communities, basically to help them to see how basically to design and plan for play in cities. And we developed this toolkit because we also are, approaching play in cities because we know that play is extremely important for children development, not only for their well-being, but also for developing the different skills, social, physical skills, emotional skills. At the same time that we know that play is important for the entire community because it creates a sense of cohesion, a sense of belonging, a sense of place for communities that are engaged around playful activities. And also we know that by creating child and family-friendly urban environments, actually we are also addressing other important agendas, like for instance, climate resilience, safety and security, and other important agendas that we can address using an integrated approach so that we can create communities and spaces that are good not only for children, but for everyone. At the same time, we know that play is struggling to find a place in the life of many children today. And we know that this is happening across the world for several reasons. And in particular, for children that are growing up in cities, this is particularly affecting them. And we saw this in particular during the COVID-19 lockdown phases. And there are different reasons, different barriers that are basically reducing opportunities for children to play in cities. There are less open spaces, public spaces for design for children. There are also changes in the way in urban lives. The children are facing a time scarcity issue that is particularly evident in more kind of developed context. And at the same time, there is limited evidence and knowledge on why play is important for children across city decision makers, urban practitioners, and also limited evidence on the benefits that playful city, playful spaces actually they create to the society or to economic development. So there is not a lot of commitment from different organizations, from city authorities, for urban practitioners to design and plan for play, to invest for play, as Lina mentioned before. Also, we saw that there is limited guidance, practical guidance for city authorities practitioners to design and plan for play. And this is why we started by develop the urban play framework, which is at the core of the Playful Cities Toolkit. The framework is basically a planning tool that helps understanding the different dimensions of play in different urban systems and different urban scales. It's organized around 3 dimensions. One is facilitation for play, which looks if play is basically actively supported by caregivers, teachers, community members, and city authorities as a whole. Then we look at time and choices for play. So we try to understand if children have adequate time and choice to engage in stimulating play activities. Then also another dimension of the frame is looking at spaces and facilities for play. So looking at understanding if children have access to adequate spaces, facilities, and equipment, looking at different needs and capabilities of children. And these 3 dimensions, they're also assess and consider using like 3 different urban scales. So from household, school, neighborhood, and city level, because it's very important to have this holistic understanding of the urban systems at the same time as an holistic understanding of play. And also another important driver for developing the framework are the 5 skills that children can develop through playful activities, through playful interactions. So the Playful Cities Toolkit is online, is available online in our website, and is an interactive tool, which is structured following a very simplified design process, which comprises 3 main phases. One is about understanding, because we need to understand beneficiaries and context in order to design. And the third section is about measuring the impact of these the interventions that are designed against a set of metrics or indicators that we identify. And the application of the urban play framework is supporting the use of the toolkit is supported by a set of tools and methods that is possible to download from the toolkit. So starting from the first section about understand, so this section really aims at providing the tools, methods, right approaches to understand, to gain an holistic understanding of how different urban systems relate to children's play experience, and allows also to undertake an assessment looking at the challenges, but at the same time looking at the opportunities that play in a given location. And also very important to say is that the purpose is to look at play beyond playgrounds, because we know that mainly investments that are around play are mainly on facilities or playgrounds, but it's very important to have an holistic understanding on how the entire built environment can actually function as a playful space for children and for everyone. So here you can see some tools that are available online, and that helps basically to undertake a comprehensive assessment, to organize co-creation, co-assessment workshops with communities, with children, and also of how to conduct an interview or focus group discussion around the topic of play. And the play assessment tool is basically a further development of the urban play framework, because it's also structured around the three dimensions that I just mentioned, and we identify a set of factors that can be analyzed considering the 4 urban scales: schools, household, neighborhood, and city scale. Then the design section of the toolkit is actually helping the users of the toolkit to first prioritize interventions, so based on the assessment, to help basically analyzing what is available, what are the challenges, what are actually the opportunities. So identify possible interventions and how to prioritize them. And we also included, so here you can see the prioritization tool that helps you there is a scoring system that helps you to assess where are actually the key challenges on play. So where actually there is a need to invest for play. There are also other tools for organizing co-creation workshop with children caregivers, because as was previously said, it has to be at the core of the type of work that we do. We also identify different case studies globally to inspire ideas and to show also possible approaches on how to look at play in cities beyond playgrounds. And the measure section is, as I said, provides tools and methods to assess ongoing outcomes, and also to measure the long-term impact that specific play-focused solutions have for children, the broader communities, and the environments. Here you can see the measurement, the play assessment or play impact tool. You can see that you can actually generate an overall performance spider diagram that helps you immediately visualize where the need is, and also where actually then the impact was achieved through the work that was done. Just to give you a quick overview of how we've been using this tool over the past few years, we've been running this initiative. It's called Reclaim Play in Cities. We've been working in London, in Cape Town, and also recently in Milan. In London, in the three contexts, we have used a very highly participatory approach to design, to engaging, understanding, designing. So we've been running interviews, workshops, participatory mapping. And in the case of London, the focus has been mainly because it was the first city where we work. So the main focus was using the tool, assessing if it works, and then helping the city authority to understand, to undertake like a comprehensive assessment of play gaps and provide recommendations on how to add play into this neighborhood. In Cape Town, we also decided to work in Cape Town because we wanted to understand play dynamics in vulnerable contexts. So we work in Galicia in an informal settlement where we also engage children, caregivers, siblings from young children in this assessment using, for instance, photographs as a tool, creation, mapping, and other activities, also using the Lego methodology, Build the Change. And in Galicia, we took a step further because we also designed a network of play spaces, looking at, it was very difficult to identify spaces for play, but we managed to identify a network of play spaces together with the community. And the way we designed it, each space actually was done looking at how actually through the interaction, the engagement of these spaces, children can develop different skills. So social skills, emotional skill, and cognitive skill. And in Cape Town, in Galicia, we are now implementing this intervention together with the communities and a local organization. In Milan, we follow a similar process. The engagement for assessment has to be online because we did during the COVID lockdown, so it was not possible to meet communities and children in person, but we managed to use additional digital tools to do that. So we took a comprehensive assessment. You can see here some visuals of the assessment, looking at the 3 dimensions of the framework, so that helping to understand the challenges and the opportunities where to invest for play. We then also organized co-creation workshop, and we managed to organize workshop also in person where the lockdown restriction were a bit released. And we also, together with the municipality, we organized the first play street in Italy, actually, that is kind of creating a legacy and a growing interest to this topic across the country. And then we also developed a play strategy based on the insight of our work, where basically like around 3 key points. First of all, the importance of creating a network of play spaces. So to look at play beyond playgrounds, but to look at the city as a playground to some extent, but to create basically these interactions around play. Also around promoting the role of schools as the center of neighborhood relationships. So how can we use schools, spaces around the school to create a hub for community engagement? And then using also digital play as a bridge to physical play, because we know that children, they like digital engagement. So we need to find ways to make this interaction meaningful for them and transform this interaction into a playful learning experience. So I will stop here. I just want to mention a couple of things that I'm also happy to be in this panel, not only because I know Uri very well from our previous life, but also because with Ariadna from the city of Barcelona, we are now working on another publication that we're going to release soon that is focusing on nature-based play that builds on the COP26 event that we organized back in November. And then with Joana, we are also working for CatalyticAction, but she will give you more information about that. We're also developing a guide which is looking at play for all. So looking at play not only for children, but actually for everyone, because play is important for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sara. And before we go to Joana, please add your questions for the panelists at the Q&A box, and we will address them just in a bit. So, Joana is the co-founder of CatalyticAction, a charity that works to empower vulnerable children and their communities through participatory build interventions. Joana is an architect and researcher whose recent work revolves around working closely with displaced and host communities in Lebanon to co-design inclusive educational and recreational interventions. She collaborates on various research projects with universities such as the University College of London and the American University of Beirut. Throughout her practice and research work, she embedded intersectionality and diversity into participatory design to address inequalities. Joana, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm just sharing my screen. All right. Thank you for inviting me to speak here today about... I got muted. Okay. I co-founded CatalyticAction in 2014 with this pilot project that delivered a playground for refugee children in Lebanon, highlighting the importance of play in emergency contexts. And today, we continue to work on empowering vulnerable children and their communities through participatory built interventions with a focus on play. How can we build back better the city of the future? I will try to answer this by showing you some of our recently implemented projects in the city of Beirut. A lot has changed in Lebanon in the past 2 years with the economic crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Beirut port explosion. The neighborhood of Karantina was drastically impacted, being located approximately 600 meters away from the explosion. Homes, streets, as well as the local public park were badly damaged by the blast. We have been working in this neighborhood since 2016, and here's Amin in 2016 and in 2020. The relationship that we developed with the community is what rooted us there. The public park required rehabilitation, and children needed the space to cope and recover. Doing so by engaging the children as decision makers is very important for them to gain a sense of control and belonging. Co-designing with children is a participatory design process that puts children at the center, giving them a crucial role in deciding how to shape their surroundings. Here, children are engaged in a session that uses drawing and storytelling to get their input on how they would like to rehabilitate the park. And here, older children are playing the role of the architect, doing a walk in the park, inspecting it, and suggesting what they want to change. Then, on a 3D drawing, they develop their design proposals using stickers, drawings, and annotation. We used all this input, as well as that of the municipality, NGOs, and the children's caregivers, to design and implement the rehabilitation, which included fixing existing benches and play items, also implementing the biggest slide in Lebanon as a direct response to children's needs. And I quote, "I would like a slide wide enough to slide together with my friends as we hold hands." As well as creating the snake swing that encourages collective play, which is very important for child development. We also incorporated play items for younger children. And children participated in building activities such as painting tiles that were then installed permanently as a bench top. And as part of this rehabilitation, we transformed a neglected and damaged room into this multifunctional space that is used for educational, recreational, and psychosocial support activities with children and their communities. And we have been using the space to conduct a program of co-design activities with children. In this program, they explored with small-scale model making what spaces make them feel safe, relaxed, and happy. They then moved to build one-to-one models of the spaces. We gave them a set of material, and they were free to explore, design, and build their spaces. Their input was used to develop the safe space and personal space in the park. They even participated in adding colors and their own touch to it. We are continuing our activities with children of the neighborhood, exploring ways in which children's relationship with their built environment can be enhanced. For example, here children are mapping their neighborhood, taking pictures and videos, highlighting what they like and dislike about their public spaces. And planning neighborhood activity with children is very important for them to start seeing the potential of neglected spaces. They start envisioning with us and giving us feedback on design interventions. And together with their caregivers, they make sure that the changes implemented in the neighborhood are answering their needs and aspirations. The before and after images show how these changes impact the use of public spaces. This was our first neighborhood intervention that was scaled up to an important street in Karantina that is behind the public park and nearby the public hospital. The project prioritizes pedestrians, extending the fence of the public park into a public space that is inclusive and accessible. And also playful by adding simple play features such as floor games and colorful benches. After the construction was completed, we activated these spaces with community events such as this one, an interactive parade with a local art collective. A lot of our knowledge and experience that we have built since our pilot project helped us develop the DCID handbook. It talks about co-designing built interventions with children affected by displacement. This handbook is done in partnership with University College London, UNICEF, and UN Habitat. The aim was to develop a handbook that could be as practical as possible and that could inspire and help practitioners to implement such interventions. And because we wanted practitioners to be inspired by this handbook, it was essential to engage with them. We did this through interviews and collective sessions with various national and international practitioners to cover all the expertise that are linked to these projects. And together, we identified that co-designed built interventions with children affected by displacement can empower children, improve social cohesion, have a positive impact on the local economy, and ultimately deliver better infrastructure for children and their community. And yet, despite their multiple positive impact, it was observed that there is an undersupply of such interventions. So we looked into this and concluded that this is mostly happening because such interventions require professionals from different fields of specialism to work together, and often organizational structures do not make these collaborations easy. Their additional value is difficult to measure, especially on the long term. They require a larger investment compared to the funds required only to the built product. And lastly, these interventions often present multiple operational challenges, including some linked to safeguarding. Therefore, the handbook addresses these challenges by providing practical guidelines and tools. It is divided in 3 parts. Part A is about designing with children. Part B talks about procurement and building. And Part C is about post-building impact and sustainability. We included a number of step-by-step tools and templates that practitioners are able to download and use. And we also presented many examples of projects or simply scenarios and stories. Moving to the handbook contents in a bit more details. Part A, designing with children. It is important to mention that for us, design refers to the entire process linked to a built intervention, starting with an idea and leading to a built product. This understanding is very different from other approaches that limit design just to the act of drawing a space. Some of the key messages from Part A are: children must be at the center of the co-design process, children should be engaged through playful and fun activities, and good facilitation is key for successful participatory engagement. Part B is about procurement and building. This part is a bit more technical, but it is important, and in fact, many participants found the topics presented here to be a major barrier to implementing co-designed built interventions within their organizations. For example, if we want to deliver innovative design solutions that are durable, built with local materials and skills, then we must develop ways to engage with procurement, not just as a bureaucratic step of the process, but as an important one. And lastly, Part C, post-building impact and sustainability. What we present in this section is that it is important to also think about how we can maximize the impact of a built intervention. For example, in this playground, we decided to maximize impact by setting up a basketball training for children. The key question here is, how can we work with children to get the most out of the implemented spaces? And this collaboration with children that started with an idea and now extends to post-building, those projects that manage to get this comprehensive engagement are those that generate a very strong sense of ownership and empowerment. And the key message is, how do we realize how such co-design processes have an impact that goes beyond the physical product and that is much more linked to the process? You can find the DCID handbook on the website, where you can navigate it directly there. The website also includes an online library of resources. You can also find thematic briefs, videos, and articles addressing the different aspects of the DCID handbook. We are very happy also to be working currently with Sara and the Arup team to develop a design guide that aims to promote play for all in cities, and we look forward to sharing more about that with you soon. Thank you so much.
you, Joana, very much for this very interesting presentation. Really, congratulations for an excellent job. So we heard three interesting discussions. We have a little bit of time for Q&A. So let me just start with one general question that we have for the panel, which is really who and what drives the integration of play in urban planning? Who really are the champions or the first movers that make these changes happen? Both in terms of government, urban planners, private sector. I think it was very interesting, Sara, that Lego is actually behind one of the initiative that you're working on, and I'm sure there are other private sector players as well, and civil society at large. How do the different pieces get together to start with this initiative? So over to whoever wants to take it first. Thank you.
Maybe I start. I don't think there is one champion on play. There are different champions. For instance, the Real Play Coalition is bringing together different organizations, including Arup, to mainstream together, the play agenda and to push the agenda together. And there are different, like play. Lego Foundation is putting a lot of investments in relation to play, learning through play in particular. And then there are different city authorities like Barcelona, which we are here. Belfast is another one, for instance, who have been championing and pioneering play beyond playgrounds. And then there are many small organizations like CatalyticAction who have been doing through their work amazing, amazing work and having a huge impact. But they are small interventions which need to be implemented at scale. So that's like kind of the big challenge. So the question is, there are different champions working in many cases in silos. So how can we bring all of them together so that the play first becomes at the center of the design and planning, a kind of policy and practice, and so that we can achieve a bigger impact. So also to give to small organizations like CatalyticAction the space to grow and to do more of what they know to do, but at a bigger scale.
Thank you so much, Sara. I think it really depends on the context where these interventions are happening. As you saw in Barcelona, like it's an amazing work, and it makes me feel like how much will it take for Lebanon and for cities in Lebanon to actually reach that stage. And when I try to think, I think small baby steps maybe help with small interventions that we're trying to do. And I feel working with bigger agencies, like in our case, we work with bigger agencies like UN Habitat and UNICEF to try to prove that the play is important, and these interventions that actually also engage the children to come up with their ideas, to inform the design, as they are experts in their lives more than us. It is like after these 8 years of starting very, very small, like now we're doing more projects, but the conversation is happening. And I think as long as the conversation is happening, is a good driver to convince more the authorities to implement more projects and hopefully reach a wider scale, like Sara said.
Maybe I will add that that it's very important to have this at least in Barcelona, this political will, and this political pushing to implement these policies, and maybe I think that the most difficult thing that you showed two projects that it solves it very good, in a good way, are this co-creation with child, I think that it's very difficult to do it, and as Joana said, the children has to be the protagonist of this transformation, and also they has to show how to make it playable, how to make the cities playable, because they are the experts, and sometimes they are missing in these policies, or or it's difficult to integrate this vision, no? And you showed two projects that are very inspiring about that, no? And how to integrate in the urban planning. And I think it's very interesting, and it's a challenge for the cities.
We have a question from at the Q&A box, which is around metrics and how we measure the impact of those actions. So maybe if we go on the other way in terms of sequence, Ariadna, do you want to talk a bit how you measure the impact of your actions?
Yeah, this is difficult to measure, no? Because a lot of times the benefits are very qualitative and not quantitative, and are difficult to measure. We are measuring with the different project in different ways, no? For example, let's protect schools. We are measuring the environmental qualities, no? With maybe the impact in air pollution and air noise, no? Like in a quantity form. But also we are measuring, or we are observing how is used this new space, no? How the children are using it, or the neighborhood, no? If they feel as a new space, no? For them. Now we are measuring, and we don't have results, but we are measuring with the health agency in Barcelona, and also with ES Global, that is a foundation, a scientific foundation also, that has that are doing this measurement. And also in playgrounds, we have in the playgrounds areas, we are testing like an interview, no, like like an interview that the users are doing, and now we are collecting also this data. I think that it's very important to have this data too, because sometimes it's difficult to make these transitions, and to have this data and to have this impact. Sometimes it's useful to face the people that is against of these changes. I think in playing it's not the same, because the people understand that playing is important, but if you want to do this change, no, you have to change some habits that are like, remove the car or things like that are difficult, no? And you need this data.
I can also answer this question. Like in some projects, we try to do like a post implementation monitoring, and we do mainly space use observation. We try to document and see the impact based on the use of the space. And in many cases, we try to combine existing research projects that we're doing and benefit from research to conduct like this post-implementation research activities that looks into, okay, like we did the co-design, we used the research to be able to do a longer participatory approach. Then we also benefit from this research component to understand better the uses, to understand better the impact of these interventions. To give a clear example, so we try to use in some of the projects, not all of them are done as a research and a design, citizen science methodology. So we hired young people from the community to become researchers with us, and then these local researchers helped us interview the people, especially in public spaces, like to understand how we need to enhance the space to be suitable for children, but also the wider community. And then after we implement the project, we work again, we continue this collaboration with the local researchers, and we do these observations that include sometimes just observing and counting like the number of people using, seeing if people are using the space differently than we had envisioned, and other cases we do interviews. It's not really metrics because it's not really about the number, and but at least we're able to measure the impact, or speak more about the impact of such intervention on children and their families and the wider community as well.
Maybe if I can add something, because I think this is a very important topic, how to measure the impact and how to use the evidence that you generate, because one of the things that there are not enough investments on play, because as I said, there is not enough evidence on the positive outcomes that designing and building for play actually brings, not only to children and communities, but also for instance, economic development. There is evidence that if you create a space that is more family friendly, you create immediately a space that brings economic incomes. So we need that evidence to show that investing for play is the right way for covering different agendas and actually creating multiple benefits. So yeah, with the urban play framework, we try to really have an holistic approach on how to measure, to assess play, looking at different urban systems, and at the same time looking how then that space, the outcome that the intervention has generated in that particular space, in communities, in economic activities as well in that space. And this is very important to convince, as I said, investors, city authorities, practitioners who actually create the cities and invest in cities.
Thank you very much. We're running out of time, but there's actually one interesting question that a little bit provocative. Let me put it to the panel that says the following. Do panelists agree that if we want to take play beyond designated spaces and enable children to play out everywhere, the main barrier to tackle is car dominance, especially in residential streets? What do you think?
Well, I will start. Yeah, I agree that the main barrier is this care dominant city. No, that this city, the city that has been designed for the car, and it's the most dangerous thing in the city. No, if you want to have children playing in the street, it's important that they feel safe. And one of the danger of that we have in our streets is the car, and that's very difficult to remove and to change. But I think that it's possible. I think that we have to do it.
And then I think, yeah, adding to what Ariadna said, I think that the purpose here is not to create a childish city. We want to create an inclusive city. So there is something in between having a car-driven approach to planning and a child-driven approach to planning. So, and again, we're not discussing play as playground or play because we want to create childish cities. We want to create inclusive cities that work for everyone. And over the past 30, 40 years, children have been designed out of cities. So they've been developed, focusing on cities to be productive, competitive, economically or smart. So there is something in between that is possible. And with COVID interventions, I think with this new kind of build back better, hopefully approach, I think something in between can be delivered. So that is not, again, a city only for children, but it's a city that works for everyone.
Yeah, I can add quickly because the time is up. Like through a small example, that I think it is definitely a barrier, especially like in Lebanon where there's no public transport whatsoever, so everyone depends on a car to get around, and that's where the participatory process is very important, and the negotiations with the local authority. So when we widen the street and we prioritize pedestrian, this is a statement we're making, but we only succeed within these negotiations with the local authority and the residents and the people.
Thank you, Joana. Unfortunately, we are on time. I would like to thank you all for your participation. Sara, Ariadna, Joana, we really thank you for your contribution and presentations. Just a note that all PowerPoints will be published online on our website next week, so you can all find them there. Please have in mind that the next session is actually our first Latin American session on plastic pollution and circularity on May 26th, so look out for an invite. Again, thank you all for your participation and looking forward for the next session. Have a good rest of the day.